So hello friends, today we are going to study about the norma frontalis. Okay, now the norma frontalis is roughly oval in outline. It's oval in outline, being wider above than below. Okay, so it's wider above than below. Now coming to the bones, frontal bone forms the forehead. So see, this is a frontal bone. It's forming the forehead of the skull. Okay, its upper part is smooth. You can feel it's smooth and convex. Okay, it's convex. So I'm leaving the mandible for a while. We can just concentrate on the basic of the skull. Now, but the lower part is irregular and is interrupted by the orbits. Now, the lower part of the frontal bone is irregular and is interrupted by the orbit. So you can see here is the right orbit and this is the left orbit. Alright, and by the anterior bony aperture of the nose. So this is the anterior bony aperture of the nose. Now the right and left maxilla forms the upper jaw. The right and left maxilla is forming the upper jaw. So these are a pair of maxillary bones. So the right and the left both are forming the upper jaw. Okay. Now coming to the nasal bones. You can see here they are thin papery like bones over this side between the two orbits. So these are called the nasal bones. Okay, the right and left nasal bones, it forms the bridge of the nose. So it's forming the bridge of the nose. Alright, now the zygomatic bones. Now see, these are the zygomatic bones. See, this is the zygomatic bone and over here. Okay, so this is the zygomatic bones. Now coming to the zygomatic bones, it forms the bony prominence of the superolateral part of the cheeks. Okay, now superolateral parts of the cheeks is basically this region. So it is forming the bony prominence of the superolateral part of the cheekbone. Okay, now the mandible. So this is the mandible bone, you can see. So it forms the lower jaw. Okay, it's forming the lower jaw. Now to study normally the norma frontalis, we will basically divide it into 4 regions. Okay, so this is the frontal region, this is the orbital openings. So we will study first the frontal region, then the orbital openings, then the anterior pyriform shaped bony aperture of the nose, then the lower part of the face. So after the anterior pyriform shaped bony aperture of the nose, we will have the lower part of the face, which will consist of the mandible. Alright, which is forming the lower jaw. Now coming towards the frontal region. Okay, now the frontal region presents the following features. Now the superciliary arch. Okay, the superciliary arch. Now you can see there is a rounded curved elevation situated just above the medial part of each orbit. See, there is a rounded curved elevation. You can see it's right here. Okay, so this is the superciliary arch. Okay, it overlies the frontal sinus and is better marked in males than in females. So it basically means that below to the superciliary arch, okay, I mean below to it, we'll have the frontal ear sinuses on either side. Alright, and the most important thing is that the superciliary arch is more prominent in children and in females than in males. Okay, so that is one point to be noted. Now the meeting point of the two superciliary arch medially. Okay, I mean there is a median elevation kind of thing connecting the two superciliary arches. Now if I just trace it from lateral to medial, the two superciliary arch, they meet at a common point and there is a median elevation over it. Now this is called the glabella. Okay, so this is the glabella. Now below the glabella, the skull recedes to frontonasal suture at roof of the nose. Okay. Now below glabella, so this is the frontonasal suture. I hope it is clear. See, so you can appreciate this frontonasal suture. Alright, this one at the root of the nose. Alright, now the nasion, okay, mark my word again, the nasion is a median point at the root of the nose. So the nasion, this is the median point of the root of the nose where the internasal suture. Now see it clearly. So this is the internasal suture. Can you see it? See, this is the internasal suture, and the point where it meets the frontonasal suture over here, you can see this point. This point is basically known as the nasion. Okay. Now the frontal tuber or the frontal eminence. See, there are two frontal tubers. So you can feel it actually. If you have the skull, try to feel it like this. So there is a frontal tuber or eminence. Okay, it's a low rounded elevation above the superciliary arch. So this is the superciliary arch. Above it, you can see this is the frontal tuber. Okay, one on each side. It is more prominent in females and in children. Now this frontal tuber is more prominent in females, okay, than in males. Alright, so this was about the frontal region. Now coming to the orbital openings. Now each orbital opening is quadrangular in shape. Okay, so you can see these two bony orbitals are quadrangular in shape. Okay, now it is bounded by four margins. Alright, now first the supraorbital margin. So this is the supraorbital margin. This is the infraorbital margin. Okay, this is the medial orbital margin, and this is the lateral orbital margin. So first the supraorbital margin. Now the supraorbital margin is formed by the frontal bone. Okay, it's formed by the frontal bone. At the junction of its lateral 2/3 and its medial 1/3, it presents the supraorbital notch or foramen. Now, what does it mean? So this lateral 2/3 means the lateral 2/3 of the supraorbital margin and the medial 1/3 of the supraorbital margin. Okay, I mean this between these two parts, the lateral 2/3 and the medial 1/3. So here basically notch or a foramen may be present. Okay, so if it's a notch, we'll call it supraorbital notch. Now if a foramen is present, we'll call it a supraorbital foramen. So over here it's a foramen actually. In some skull you can see there is a notch kind of thing. So there is a supraorbital notch or supraorbital foramen. So here it transmits the supraorbital nerves and vessels. Okay, now it's the point of transmission, the supraorbital nerves and vessels. Now the infraorbital margin. Now this margin is formed by the zygomatic bone laterally. You can see the zygomatic bone laterally. So this is the zygomatic bone. It forms laterally and medially maxilla. And maxilla is forming the medial portion of the infraorbital margin. Okay. Now the medial orbital margin is ill defined. You can see this is the medial orbital margin. Now it's not clearly defined like the other three. So this medial orbital margin, it is formed by the frontal bone above. It's formed by the frontal bone above. You can see the frontal bone above, and by the lacrimal crest. Now and by the lacrimal crest of the frontal process of the maxilla. So this is the maxilla bone, basically the right maxilla bone. Now this is the frontal process of the maxilla bone. You can see this is the frontal process of the maxilla bone. Now it's also contributing in forming the medial margin of the the orbit, the medial margin of the orbit. So the medial margin of orbit is contributed by the frontal bone. Now the frontal process of the maxilla bone, okay, and I mean the lacrimal crest portion. So this is forming the medial margin. Now coming to the lateral orbital margin. So this is the lateral orbital margin. The lateral orbital margin is formed mostly by the frontal process of the zygomatic bone. So see, this is a zygomatic bone and its frontal process is contributing in the formation of the lateral margin. Okay, but it is completed above by the zygomatic process of the frontal bone. See, now the zygomatic process, so this is the zygomatic process of the frontal bone. Okay, now the zygomatic process of the frontal bone and frontal process of the zygomatic bone, they are forming the lateral orbital margin. Okay, now this is the frontozygomatic suture. It is the point of their union of the frontal process of the zygomatic bone and the zygomatic process of the frontal bone. So over here there is the frontozygomatic suture. Alright, now coming to the anterior bony aperture of the nose. So this is the anterior bony aperture of the nose. Okay, it's pear shape. It's also called pyriform shape. Okay, now it's being wide below. It's wide below and narrow above. So this is wide below and narrow above. Okay, now above you can see here these are the two nasal bones. So they are forming above the lower border of the lower border of the nasal bones is forming its boundary, at the apex of this aperture. So it's being bounded by the lower border of the nasal bones. Now below, this is the nasal notch. Okay, so this is the nasal notch of the maxilla on each side. So this is the right, this is the left. Okay, so they are forming the boundaries below. Alright, now features of the anterior bony aperture of the nose. Now you must note the following things. Now articulation of the nasal bone. Okay, articulation of the nasal bone. Now anteriorly, when you see it anteriorly, it's being articulated with the opposite bone at the internasal suture. So see, this nasal bone is articulating with the other nasal bone at this suture. So this is called the internasal suture. Okay, so you can see it clearly over here. Okay, so this is the internasal suture. Now posteriorly with the frontal process of the maxilla. Now if I say it in the posterior way, see the posterior portion of this nasal bone, it is being articulated with the frontal process of the maxilla. So this was the maxilla bone and this is its frontal process. So see, it is also suture present. Now superiorly it's articulating with the frontal bone, okay, at a frontonasal suture, and inferiorly now it's present below the upper nasal cartilage. Okay, so inferiorly the upper nasal cartilage is attached to it. Now coming to the anterior nasal spine. So this is the anterior nasal spine. It is a sharp projection in the median plane in the lower boundary of the pyriform aperture. So see, this is the anterior nasal spine. Now this is the lower boundary of the pyriform aperture and this is the anterior nasal spine. Now rhenium. Rhenium is the lowermost point of the internasal suture. Okay, the rhenium is the lowermost point of the internasal suture. So rhenium is basically this point. So this is called the rhenium. I think you remember that this point over here where the internasal suture was meeting with the frontonasal suture, at this point it is called the nasion, and just like that the lowermost point of the internasal suture, it's called the rhenium. So I think we are done with the anterior bony aperture of the nose. Now we'll come to the lower part of the face. Okay, now coming to the lower part of the face. Okay, so maxilla contributes a large share in the formation of the facial skeleton. See, these are the maxilla bones. It's a pair. This is the right maxilla bone and this is the left maxilla bone. Okay, Now the anterior surface of the body of the maxilla presents the following features. Now see, here medially there is a nasal notch. Okay, so this is one nasal notch, this is the other nasal notch. So they are forming the anterior bony nasal aperture. Okay, now this is the anterior nasal spine. Okay, then we can see the infraorbital foramen over here. See, it's present just 1 centimeter below the infraorbital margin. Okay, this was the infraorbital margin. Now it's present 1 centimeter below to it. Now see the incisive fossa. Now the incisive fossa is actually, you can see these are like the sockets of the incisor teeth. Okay, so just here, this is the incisor eminence kind of thing. Now this is the incisive fossa. You can see here, it's the incisive fossa above the incisor teeth. Okay, so I generally spell it incisive, many spell it like incisors. Now incisive fossa, I think you should understand. I mean, the pronunciation doesn't matter at all. Now see, this was the canine eminence. Okay, this is the canine eminence. Now just lateral to it we'll have the canine fossa. Okay, so just lateral to it we'll have the canine fossa. Now in addition, 3 out of 4 processes of the maxilla are also seen in this norma. Okay, 3 out of the 4 processes. So maxilla basically have 4 processes, but we can see it's 3 processes in this norma frontalis view. Okay, now the frontal process of the maxilla is directed upwards. You can see this is the frontal process of the maxilla. It is directed upwards. It articulates anteriorly with the nasal bone. Okay, it's articulating anteriorly with the nasal bone. See, these are the nasal bones, so it articulates with the nasal bone, and posteriorly with the lacrimal bone. Okay, now posteriorly here it's this papery thin bone on either side, so this is called a lacrimal bone. Alright, now so that is done. And superiorly with the frontal bone, you can see here superiorly it's being articulated with the frontal bone. Alright, now the zygomatic process of the maxilla. So the zygomatic process of the maxilla is basically this one. Okay, it is short but stout. Okay, it's short but stout and articulates with the zygomatic bone. See, it's articulating with the zygomatic bone. Now the alveolar process of the maxilla bears sockets for the upper teeth. So I told you previously, the TMJ is also disturbing. Now the alveolar process of the maxilla, you can see this is the alveolar process. It bears sockets for the upper teeth. So here is where the upper teeth are inserted. You can see clearly. Okay. Now the zygomatic bone. So let's come to the zygomatic bone. So this is the zygomatic bone. Okay, it's also called a beauty bone. Now the zygomatic bone, okay, it forms the prominence of the cheek. It's also called the cheekbone or the malar bone. Okay, cheekbone or the malar bone. The zygomaticofacial foramen is seen on its surface. So you can see here, see there is a foramen. So this is called zygomaticofacial foramen. It's present, it should be present here as well. I think it has fused. Okay, so this was about it. Now let's come to the mandible. Okay, so this is the mandible bone. Okay, it's also called a beauty bone in some culture. Okay, the zygomatic bone is also considered a beauty trait. Okay, because it forms the prominence of your cheek. Okay, and your cheek also contributes much to your facial beauty. Now this mandible. Now the mandible is the means in Latin is to chew. The mandible in Latin means to chew. So it helps in chewing kind of thing. Now it forms the lower jaw. The upper border or alveolar arch lodges the lower teeth. So this is the upper border or the alveolar arch. It's forming the lower teeth. I mean, it forms the sockets of the lower teeth. Okay. Now the lower border or base is rounded. The lower border or base is rounded. So see, it's rounded. Okay. Now the middle point of base is called the mental point or the gnathion. Okay. Now the middle point of the base, so this point basically, this is called the gnathion. Okay. Gnathion, and it's also called the mental point. Okay. Now coming to the angle of mandible. So this is the angle of mandible. Okay. So this is called the angle of mandible. Now the point on the angle of mandible is called the gonion. Okay. The point on the angle of mandible is called the gonion. Now next is the anterior surface of the body of the mandible. Okay. Now we'll come to the anterior surface of the body of the mandible. Now it presents the symphysis menti or the mental protuberance. So this is the symphysis menti or the mental protuberance, and the mental tubercles anteriorly. So these are the mental tubercles. You can see one on the other side. This is the mental tubercles. Okay. Now the mental foramen. Now this mental foramen, it's also an important anatomical landmark. Okay, because it helps in age determination of an individual. Okay. Now in the course of, from your childhood till your old age, this mental foramen you can just determine by seeing the mandible bone. Okay, this mental foramen just moves upwards. It just recedes upwards due to the erosion of this lower border of this. The lower jaw. This is gradually eroded with time. Okay. Now due to bone dissolution and bone resorption and all, so this margin recedes. This alveolar process recedes, and so this mental foramen can be seen moving upwards. Okay. It's not moving upwards. It gradually moves upwards. Okay. So from that, during forensic examinations, you can see determine the age of the skull. Okay. So that is one important thing. Now it transmits the mental nerve and mental vessels. Okay. It transmits the mental nerves and mental vessels. Now the mental foramen below the interval between the two, it's present below the two premolar teeth. Okay, you can see this is basically the socket of the premolar teeth. Okay, so it's present just below the premolar teeth. Okay, now there is a oblique line. You can see there is a oblique line. Okay, it runs upwards and backwards from the mental foramen. Okay, upwards and backwards. Now it basically runs on the mental tubercles. It will be wrong to say mental foramen over here. So on the mental tubercles, it basically runs upward and backward. Okay, to the anterior border of the ramus of the mandible. So this is the ramus of the mandible. Okay, and this is its anterior border. So it runs obliquely up, backward and upwards up till the anterior border of the ramus of the mandible. Okay. Now suture of the norma fructalis. Let's recap a bit. So this is the internasal suture. Okay. This was the frontonasal suture. Now this is the nasomaxillary suture. So which one is the nasomaxillary? So this is the nasomaxillary suture. Okay. And this is the the lacrimomaxillary suture. Lacrimomaxillary suture is also present. I think you can see it right here. Okay, so this is the lacrimomaxillary suture. You can see there is a kind of border like thing. Okay. Next is the frontomaxillary suture. Now which one is the frontomaxillary? So this is the frontal bone, this is the frontal process of maxilla bone, and see this one here. This is the frontomaxillary suture. This was the frontonasal suture. Okay. Now the intermaxillary suture. So this is the intermaxillary suture. You can see these are the two maxilla bones. This is the common meeting point. This is the intermaxillary suture. Now the zygomaticomaxillary suture. So which one is the zygomaticomaxillary suture? So this one is the zygomaticomaxillary suture. This is the maxilla bone. This is the zygomatic bone. This is the zygomaticomaxillary suture. And this one right here is the zygomatico-frontal suture. Okay. Now we'll come to the attachments. Alright. Now the attachment I'm going to explain you. So I hope you can see it clearly. So this is basically the diagram from BDCs. Now we'll study about the important attachments. Okay. So if you can follow with your BDC as well, it will be very much useful. Now the superciliary arch, I told you where the superciliary arch was. It gives origin to the corrugator supercilii muscle. See over here. So this is the corrugator supercilii muscle. So this was the superciliary arch over here. So I guess you can recall it. Okay. So here is present the corrugator supercilii. Alright. So this is one of the important muscle. Next, but remember it's medial part, the medial part of the superciliary arch. Now the procerus muscle. Now the procerus muscle arises from the nasal bone near the median plane. So procerus muscle arises from the nasal bone. So the nasal bone was here. Now I'm just showing it in the skull. So this was the nasal bone basically. Oh, my camera is not able to focus. See, from here the procerus usually originates. Okay, near the median plane. Now procerus is done. Next, the orbital part of the orbiculus oculi. So this is the orbiculus oculi muscle. You can see it helps in various eye movements. Now the orbital part of the orbiculus oculi arises from the frontal process of the maxilla. There was the frontal process, I think you can see it from here. So this was the frontal process of the maxilla bone. Now from here it arises. Okay. And from the nasal part of the frontal bone. So this was the nasal part of the frontal bone. From here it arises and it just goes around the iota. Now next to it we have the medial palpebral ligament. Now I think it's not shown here. So basically this is the palpebral part of the orbiculus oculi. Okay. It's attached to the frontal process of the maxilla between the frontal and maxillary origins of orbiculus oculi. Okay. So I told you there are two origins of orbiculus oculi. One was the nasal part of the frontal bone from here, and the other was the nasal part. The first one was the nasal part of the frontal bone, and the other one was the orbital part of the orbiculus oculi arises from the the frontal process of the maxilla bone. Okay. So now the medial palpebral ligament is attached to the frontal process of the maxilla. Okay, between the frontal and maxillary origin. So it's not clearly shown here. So you can just search it in your Google. Okay. Now next muscle is the levator labii superioris alicunaceae. So this is the levator labii superioris, but the alicunaceae is a different one. See, the alicunaceae is this one. So this muscle right here, this is the levator labii alicunaceae, and this is the levator labii superioris. Okay, so don't get confused between these two. So this is basically near the nasal region, so it's called alicunaceae, and this is a bit away. Okay. Now the levator labii superioris arises from the maxilla between the infraorbital margin. So here was the infraorbital margin and the infraorbital foramen. So below them, so I told you that there is a gap of 1 centimeter between the infraorbital margin and the infraorbital foramen.
from there it arises. Okay, the levator levi superioris. Now next to it we come to levator levi angulis oris. Levator anguli oris. So it will be levator anguli oris. So I think it's given. Levator anguli oris is not given. Okay, we can see here. Okay, the levator anguli oris. So this is the levator anguli oris. This is the levator levi superioris. This is the levator levi alicunaceae. Two branches. Okay. So alicunaceae, then superioris, then anguli oris. Now this is the depressor anguli oris, and this is the depressor levi inferioris. Okay, because it depresses. These are the depressing muscles, and these are the levating muscles. Means they are make your lift upward. Now this is the buccinator with modulus. Now the buccinator muscle helps in blowing your cheek. It just helps in inflating. During inflating a balloon, you can see your buccinators help a lot. Okay, they gather much airspace and helps in giving a thrust. Now it also helps in whistling as well. Okay. Now the levator anguli oris. So I have shown you the nasalis and the depressor septi. Okay, the nasalis and the depressor septi. So I guess it's also not given here. No, it's also not given. The nasalis and the depressor septi. Okay, the nasalis muscle is basically near the nasal area. Over here. This is the compressor nasally. I wanted to show it to you, but it's not here. Okay, the nasalis muscle. So they actually bordered in nasal notch. Okay, you can just see here. This is the compressor nasally, and that's all about it. Now the incisivus muscle. Okay, so there is a muscle called incisivus muscle. It arises from an area just below the depressor septi. So if I could show you depressor septi, then I could show you that incisivus muscle. It forms part of orbicularis oris over here. Okay, near the incisors. It's present. Okay, I have written it in pencil. Depressor septi. Okay, so this is the depressor septi. Alright. So over here, just below to it. Okay, there is the incisivus muscle. Now the zygomaticus major and minor. So the zygomaticus minor is more medial. Okay, and the zygomaticus major is basically bit lateral to the zygomaticus minor. Okay. Now the zygomaticus minor muscle arises below the zygomaticofacial foramen. So I have shown you the zygomaticofacial foramen if you remember. Okay, so it is present just below the zygomaticofacial foramen. Now the zygomaticus major arises lateral to the minor muscle. Right, told you. Now the buccinator. Okay, the buccinator arises from maxilla and mandible, opposite the molar teeth. So from here basically. Okay, so this is the buccinator muscle. You can see over here and here. We'll study what it functions in a later video. Okay, and from the pterygomandibular raphe. So it also forms part of orbicularis oris. Now the pterygomandibular raphe, it will be much more clear if we study the norma basalis. After that we can just see actually where the pterygomandibular space is. So from there we can detect the pterygomandibular raphe. Okay. Now there is an important point to be noted. Okay. See, this supraorbital foramen. Okay, this infraorbital foramen and this mental foramen over here. Okay, again the TMJ, it's very much disturbing. Yeah, it's basically TMJ, it may dislocate if your mouth is open, and then it's the weakest position when the TMJ may get dislocated. So whenever your lower jaw is like open, so please don't give a blow to somebody. So it's the most delicate area. Alright, so where was I? So yeah, the supraorbital foramen, the infraorbital foramen and this mental foramen, they lie in a straight line. You can see almost they lie in the straight line. Okay, And there is one more interesting thing to this, that the supraorbital foramen, it transmits the supraorbital nerve and vessels. So the supraorbital nerve basically it's the branch of ophthalmic division of the trigeminal nerve. Okay, so the ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve passes through this area, and its branches the supraorbital nerve. Okay, similarly the infraorbital nerve, okay, which transmits the infraorbital nerves and vessels. So it's actually the continuity of the maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. So this is the continuity of the continuation of the maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. Alright, so this was the ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve, this is the maxillary division of trigeminal nerve. And similarly the mental foramen over here, it transfers the mental nerve and vessels. Now this is the branch of the mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. So this is the branch of mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve. Okay, this is the mandibular division, maxillary division, this is the ophthalmic division. So I think I have covered all of it. So I think this one I missed out. This is the middle nasal concha, this is the inferior nasal concha. They are very much thin. It may just fall off. Okay, over here inside, middle is inferior. So this was pretty much about the norma frontalis.